Hello, my friends. Hello. After 3 years of talking about the pyramid ships and the pyramid race and all that stuff, I am happy to say that yes, they did exist, and in a sense, they still do. This season, we got the cutscene that explained the Witness's origins, and at the same time, confirmed the pyramid ships were just ships, that there was a pyramid race, that they were given a golden age by the gardener. They worshipped the gardener, that they joined the darkness and turned against the gardener, and that they had, and might still have, both the light and the darkness. It feels good, it really does, seeing a theory and information that I have put out there from close to 3 years ago still be relevant today, and actually in a lot of ways coming true. In this video, I want to talk about the pyramid race, and how they were given what was possibly the most powerful golden age we've ever seen, before destroying it with their own hands. And after that, I want to present to you a theory about that fall, and you can tell me what you think. It's gonna be good. And yeah, with all of that being said, let's get into it. Disclaimer time. Time to shoot the elephant in the room and get it out of the way. I'm not going to be talking in great detail about if the pyramid race were once human. I want to make that its own separate video. But I will say this. This cutscene is not the definitive proof that the race were or were not human. The reason for this is simple. Not only is the cutscene overall very vague, most lore creators will agree on that, but each point of info within it goes against both sides of the argument. And I'll give you two examples. The people in the robes have human-looking bodies and features, yet the eyes look kind of weird. There are literal pyramids in a desert, but they have the tops cut off, so they're not necessarily the Egyptian pyramids. So for each point, it also has a counter. So the cutscene itself does not prove whether or not the race were human. But what do I think? After seeing this cutscene and thinking about it, what do I think? I still think that they were originally human at the time of their golden age. Because when you combine this cutscene with all the other evidence we have in the game, in art, and so on, it genuinely makes the argument that they were human even stronger. But we'll talk about that when the time is right. Let's talk about their relationship to the Traveler, or should I say, the Gardener. This cutscene is very significant for the Gardener, as it raises some pretty big questions. Does she actually exist, or is she just a metaphor made up by the race? Is the machine, the Traveler, the Gardener? Is that who the Gardener is? Is it just the machine? I plan on making a dedicated Gardener video at some point. Probably it's going to be within the next 5 videos or something, hopefully. I don't have it exactly pinpointed down in the schedule. And I'll tackle those questions there. But one question I certainly will tackle, and quite aggressively, is how did the pyramid race learn about the Gardener? That's a fair question, assuming they didn't make her up. And you can't say that they learned it from the veil or the darkness, because it's specifically stated that they called a traveler the Gardener before they went after the veil, before they learned about the veil. So in my opinion, the only way they could have possibly learned about the Gardener was from the Gardener herself, or the traveler. And this is something I have talked about for a very long time. This is another 3-year thing, I guess. I have always maintained that these statues of the Veiled Woman are of the Gardener, and that the only way the race could have known about the Gardener and that she looks like that, or that she chooses to look like that, is if they had actually met or seen her. When I talked about this, I always envisioned that this meeting played out similarly to the scrapped cutscene from D1, where the astronauts on Mars met the Gardener, but the cutscene says that the Gardener or Traveler never spoke to them. So that means a meeting with the actual Gardener in the flesh could never have happened. Could a meeting ever have happened full stop? Well, yeah, there's actually a way around that whole question, because when you think about it, the Traveler has never spoken to anyone. No, the Traveler, or rather the Gardener, communicates through dreams. And this is consistent through every bit of lore we have had since Destiny 1, with exception for perhaps the lore in Witch Queen with Rolk and the Ghost, where it's implied that the Traveler spoke through that ghost. And if you haven't seen that lore, it's actually really interesting. Basically, Rolk tries to bond with the ghost, and the Traveler intervenes and speaks through it before making the ghost blow up. So anyway, that's that. Not only that, but if you have watched my Winnower video, and I really recommend you do, we went over the dream Saint 14 had in Beyond Light. A dream where a mysterious woman, who very much seemed to be the Gardener, took control over his dream. And this dream, to me, and this bit of lore, is proof that the Gardener can manifest physically in the dreams of people, or at least can manifest visually. It's not just visions and imagery of random things and people have to try and piece it together. Now, am I saying this is exactly how the Pyramid race learned about the Gardener? No, I have no evidence for this. This is me purely looking at the lore and trying to give you a guesstimation. But I am saying that dreams are a logical and backed up reason as to how they could have gained this information. Okay, nice. Next, let's talk about the fall of their golden age, and this can be broken down into many parts, but I'm going to give you 3. So the first point is the core flaw of the light, and this is what their fall actually highlights. 2 is the so-called ruin that the light caused, that they were most likely responsible for. And last but not least is the true reason for why they turned on the Gardener, which is where my theory comes in. Let's go through these points in order, shall we? Like I said before, this race was given, in my opinion, the most powerful golden age that we have ever seen, and I have one simple reason that confirms this. Their golden age, like all golden ages, had an end, and it was cut short. And yet in that time, they gained knowledge and power that allowed them to become the most powerful faction in the entire Destiny universe. There is not one faction that we have seen or read about that can challenge the Black Fleet. And that is the truth. And that includes the 9, by the way. On top of that, since they didn't have a proper collapse, they were able to keep that knowledge and power and their incredibly overpowered ships, and that allowed them to keep that number 1 spot. These guys had it. They won the jackpot. GG, end of story. But even paradise is a prison when you can't leave. They got bored. They weren't content and they wanted more. The story of the Pyramid race perfectly highlights a core flaw of the light. Perfection and eternity is boring. The thing is, you can take this problem and you can expand it to the big picture of the light versus the darkness. The 9 showed Drifter what would happen if the Gardener gained control over the entire universe, and in it, nothing was allowed to die. And I mean not allowed as in you could look like this, beg for the sweet embrace of death, and not get it. Nothing ever changed. It was an eternity of life and suffering. And in my opinion, boredom and feeling like your life has no meaning is a very small level of suffering, but it's still suffering. So yeah, I think this is all really interesting. You see, the Winnower makes several points about why the ideology of the light is wrong in Unveiling and the Books of Sorrow. And on paper, they all seem to make sense and be right. But when looking at the story of the Pyramid race, I do believe that this is an example of that flaw that played out in reality that we can actually look at. I don't know if you could tell by now, but I'm kind of a lore nerd, yeah. The next point is about the capabilities of the Pyramid race when it came to the light, and whether or not they messed with it. We know the Pyramid race were blessed by the light, not just from this cutscene, but from Savvy as well, who wasn't lying, by the way. But the big question is, how much light did they have access to? And how did they use it? The greatest creation of the Pyramid race that we can see are, of course, the pyramid ships of the Black Fleet. And there are 2 aspects of the ships that I need to talk about. The first is resonance. It was speculated that it was going to be a darkness subclass, but is it even darkness at all? As you can see by this picture, resonance isn't actually darkness because the Traveler has it too, it's just a different color. And because we know they didn't build the Traveler, we know who came first. So is it the light? Or was it made to copy its capabilities? Is it a knockoff? Because the other thing I need to talk about is the terraforming that we've seen the pyramids do, mainly in Season of Arrivals. Again, it's been hammered home now that the darkness is all about the mental and light is all about the physical. So what does this mean? Were pyramids using the light to achieve that terraforming, or is it technology designed to mimic the light? The final thing again with this whole light situation is the Witness being able to possess our ghost. The Traveler possessed a ghost, and Witch Queen, to speak through it, and that was probably the light. So did the Witness use the light to do the same? These are all questions that, while I don't have the answers for, I do think you should know about them. Oh, and before I forget, and let me go off script real quick, I am very suspicious about the Pyramid race having a mess with light. You see, one of the things that the cutscene says is that one of the reasons why the Pyramid race came to the whole conclusion about the Traveler and the light was because they had witnessed the ruin that the light was able to cause, right? Now, I have had conversations with people, and they've said that there wasn't any ruining taking place. It was mainly that they saw it had the potential to cause ruin. Well, that's not what I see from the cutscene. When I look at the cutscene, I see them having witnessed and reacting to actual disasters. Well, here's the thing about these disasters. They're natural disasters. And this does not follow the behavior of the Traveler and the light in any way, shape, or form. And for the record, I can give you two very clear reasons why. The first is that the only example of the Traveler being associated with a natural disaster was the God Wave with the Hive. And that was a framing. The Traveler didn't even do that. Second is we actually know what the light and the Traveler will do and can do when it wants to be destructive. It's direct attacks. And we have seen 2 pulses and 2 beam attacks from the Traveler in game and in lore. Let me tell you what those were. The first pulse that we saw was from the first Destiny 2 cutscene back in the day. The second pulse was actually with Gaul. The first beam attack can be found in the Maracena lore book against the actual darkness, and the second beam attack can be found, of course, in Lightfall. So yeah, again, it doesn't make any sense that the light is so destructive because it's causing volcanoes and it's making it rain really hard. Oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't really fit what we've seen at all. And yet, when you look at what the Pyramid race are doing in these cutscenes, you know, it looks like they're messing with stuff, especially when they bring the veil into the mix and you have this shot here and their cute little wands of something. Yeah, no, I am very suspicious that they were using the light and they were messing with it and it was backfiring on them. And it completely fits their personality, their arrogance, their ego, and their boredom. So that's a point that I want to bring up as well. I do think that this whole ruining that was coming from the light, or the ruination, was probably, in all fairness, because of them. That's all I can really say. The last thing that I want to talk about is the fall of the race, the fall of their golden age, and their connection to the Traveler and their own bodies, and the creation of the Witness. Did all of this purely happen because they figured out everything by themselves, or were they influenced, manipulated? In the Gardener video that I plan on making, of course I'm going to be talking about how this cutscene ties into things, and one element that I talk about is if the Gardener is even a character that exists. And my one point is that you cannot have one character, so the Gardener, without the Winnower, and vice versa. And one point that I make is that this cutscene really strongly indicates that the Winnower exists, even just by confirming that the Witness is not the Winnower. So, the Winnower exists. I'm going to say this, and we're going to just pretend that it's true. The Winnower saw the Pyramid race. It saw their golden age. And like the serpent in the Garden of Eden, you know the story, you'll know what I'm talking about, it convinces them and gets them to be bored of their paradise, gets them to destroy their own golden age, destroy their civilization, destroy their connection to the traveler, basically have them kill themselves and become the witness. A puppet on a string. And I'm going to tell you some reasons why I think this very much could be the case. And really, it just comes down to, there's a few reasons, but it really just comes down to the fact that the way they act at the very end makes no sense unless they're getting their information from an outside source. And that's even kind of confirmed. It's the veil that they're getting this from. Even with them becoming the witness, they only did that after seeing the truth in the darkness. And I think the real point is, it's pretty much confirmed that the real reason why they did what they did at the very end in becoming the witness and using the veil was because of whatever they learned from the darkness. The real question is, did they make the decision purely after just observing and learning and researching and coming to their own decisions, or were they manipulated and influenced? Let me just put it like this. If they were not influenced by an outside source, how did they know what was inside the traveler? How did they know that they needed the veil to get into that thing in the traveler? How did they know to use the veil in that specific method? And how did they know that using the veil in that specific way would get them that specific result? They have no way of knowing that unless they were told. And again, it's actually kind of funny. This literally ties in with the whole Garden of Eden thing. So for those of you who don't know, the whole point of the Garden of Eden thing that I'm talking about is that there was a tree and there was fruit, and Adam and Eve, the humans, were told, don't eat the fruit. And long story short, the serpent convinced them to eat the fruit. Why? Because it told them, if you eat the fruit, you'll become like God. They had no way of knowing that that was going to be the case. They had no idea of knowing if that was even true. My point is that the parallels are very much similar here. The way the pyramid race act does not make sense unless they're told from an outside source. And I believe that if this is not just Bungie, messing things up, this was most likely the Winnower. And that's pretty much it. That's my theory. I think the pyramid race did what they did because they were manipulated and they were influenced, and yeah, they had a golden age and they didn't have a collapse, great, but they were convinced to destroy it themselves and become a pawn of the darkness. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm completely crazy with this, or do you think I'm onto something? Do you think we'll see the Winnower in final shape? I certainly hope so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, finding it either informative or enjoyable. Tell me, I need to know. Did I do both? Did I hit the wombo combo this time? Let me know. And yeah, my next video is going to be about if they are still human, in my opinion, which of course I've kind of said, yeah, they are. And I'll be going through that in great detail. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.